All right, so in this part, I will cover the principle of slavery and not being a slave, the principle of not choosing the dumbest date or mate selection, okay, and not choosing dumb mates in general also connects to this principle. So in the last one, I talked about escorts. Anyone who sleeps with somebody outside of the divine order, right, couldn't possibly be moral, and therefore they're prostituting themselves for worldly gain, which may as well be money. Any kind of thing that brings you pleasure, money just brings you pleasure. That's why they're prostituting themselves, is for the pleasure that money brings them, instead of sleeping with someone in a responsible way in the moral order for morality. And at this time, there's no responsible way to do that. So sleeping with anybody is wrong. All right, so everyone is a slave to something. I'm a slave to the core of righteousness, to God. I am God's son. I am his representative. I am not God. I obey God, and I do what is the logical way to serve God, which is trying to restore the divine order. This idea has been with man for ages, certainly since ancient Egypt, where Horus is said to try to restore the divine order. All right, so, and of course, Jesus talking about the way, the truth, and life, and all these ideas of what is the divine order, who is the most moral leader, and we can use universal moral truths to ascertain that. That's quite often, it's obvious, and quite often is what religious books attempt to do if you give them the benefit of the doubt. All right. So, the principle of not being a slave, right? Not being a slave to evil, right? What has mastered you? Okay. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. It's a principle of only being a slave to God. So the principle of not choosing, the principle of not choosing the dumbest date or mate selection. Who are the evil? In the eugenics system, they wanted to match the rich woman with the scientist or someone they considered smart with their racist IQ test. IQ backwards is Ki. Ki is the earth deity. That's for a reason. These aren't martial art transcendent forms of intelligence that the warrior has. This is some kind of bookworm, complicit nerd form of intelligence that despicable people that can never transcend. It tends to be the general trend, and I never see a single case of them transcending, tend to have. So it's a kind of slave to this world form of intelligence that is beneath a righteous man. So it's pretty straightforward. And also the other people who call themselves martial artists, other people who are call themselves religious or spiritual leaders, anybody who places themselves in a position of importance, who's outside of the divine order in this regard, or who's approved by the eugenics system for being evil, and they want them to be seen as desirable, they're the dumbest mate selections because they're evil. And it's the way to most effectively defy the core of righteousness. These are the paths that most effectively or more effectively define the core of righteousness. So they're the dumbest mate and date selection.